Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 9 of Confessions of a Market Maker. I'm your co-host, Ray, aka All Day Ray, aka the Philosopher Pimp. Call me whatever you like, but don't call me whenever you like. And I'm here with my studious co-host, a man who eats, breathes, and sleeps market profile. A man with an illustrious 20-year career of savagely taking retail money. A man who in his heyday has alleged to have squatted with 6 plates on both sides of the bar, aka tree trunk legs. I'm talking about JJ. JJ, how's it going?
Good, Ray. How you doing?
I am doing good, man. So by my calculations, that would be 585 pounds you squatted. Now I don't know if it's different, like in Canadian, like I got to like kilograms. Do you guys weigh by pounds or?
No, each plate is 45, just like in the States. We get our
Okay.
weights from the States.
No, like that was a legitimate question. I know you guys use different like metrics. You know what I mean for
Well,
measuring.
yeah, it seems like a lot of weight, but where I grew up, people are big. And at 285, when I was, also that's not a great power to weight ratio because I was 285. I should have been throwing more up there.
Uh-huh.
But at 285, I was one of the smaller guys among my 15 buddies. So
That's nuts. That's ridiculous. All right, all right. Well, so yeah, so just going on about last week, we had on trading performance coach Steven Goldstein as a guest. What were your thoughts about it last week, JJ?
my thoughts is I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful to have made contact with him. Like, if do you realize how tough it is to access guys like that for retail traders?
Oh yeah.
You know, they get big bucks from hedge funds and institutional traders for that kind of coaching. So to have that kind of access, I'm like, whoa! It's like, oh, lottery, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, because he's a performance coach. He helps you with edges, and just to be able to open a dialogue with him, to one day be able to, reach out to ask him a question and that sort of thing. And if I do, I'll definitely make it public and, and tell the listeners about it because, everything I seem to be going through in the retail space, I'm not special, just because, I'm an ex instrument of the paper hangers. Um, I'm not special. I go through everything that the retail people have gone through. And having access to someone like him who's been a trader and he's not just some guy with a fancy degree.
Right, right.
He's been in the trenches and he knows what it's like, to lose a limb financially. And, having that kind of access I'm really, really grateful. I was really, really pleased.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and even for myself, it was, it was crazy. Like, because everything he talks about, like 100% applies to poker. Like the similarities are uncanny. And, I've been going through a downswing as of late. And just talking to him, I didn't start playing poker again until yesterday. I was finally able to like convince myself, all right, take a break. Because I think I was definitely underestimating how much my emotions were actually affecting me. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
I was like, oh,
definitely.
like I'm above. Like I didn't realize how much my ego was actually really in play. Like I thought I was above the emotions. Oh, I play a game theory approach. Like emotions don't affect me, and I was just lying to myself.
It creeps up on you, man. You think you're okay and you think you're stable, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be in a trade, and the only thing now is that I'm aware of it.
Hmm.
Before I wasn't aware of how my emotions were affecting me. Sometimes I'll just start feeling off, like, something that somebody said or something that somebody did will start entering my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm not in the zone, right? And then I'll pull back. And my buddy Odds, who did a great interview with you guys, he said he goes for a walk. And Jim Dalton always says, get up and go for a walk, look at the ducks. So I'll do stuff like that, or, just to get out of my head. But now I can actually kind of see it coming, right? Or I
Hmm.
can feel, oh, I'm not there, right? Um, so that's really, I'm grateful for that. I've developed that kind of self awareness that I was sorely lacking. when I started this.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely, definitely, yeah. And if the listeners, if you guys haven't listened to that, obviously we think very highly of Stephen Goldstein. So go back, listen to that. Guarantee anybody could get anything, get something out of it, no matter your experience level. And so, transitioning in today's topic, we're going to be talking about starting your journey into becoming a profitable trader. What's the path going to look like to becoming consistently profitable? And before we jump into that, JJ, I know you wanted to kind of touch on like what's been happening in the market recently. And so, the market's been tanking. And so my question to you, what's your advice? Okay. Like this might be a general question, but like, what's your general approach to navigating these types of markets?
okay. First of all, if you're a seasoned trader, you probably don't need any advice from me. You know what to do. This isn't your first barbecue, right? But newer traders, okay, when markets start coming off like they did yesterday, the day before, and the day before that, after they've hit an all-time high, you are going to get other time frame in there selling. This is called distribution, or as one of my dark clients used to say, distribution. So that what you're doing with these markets, you have to understand why the market exists. We take a market up, so you chase it, and that's what's been going on for the last, oh God, since easily since June. Um, the market has been going up on very, very bad structure, right? It's we're literally building, you know, houses of cards on foundations of sand, right? So that market has been creeping up, and they got it up to an all-time high, and they're like, okay, boys, let's time to backfill, right? It's a little overextended. So what they do is they start to sell out. And once they start to sell out, what they're doing is there's all these orders, good till cancel orders from the month, from the week. And they start to get filled because people will chase a market up. So what you're doing is you're distributing what you bought, in the S&P, for example, in the 2700s. You go and you pick up all that paper and you take it up, and then you sell it all the way down, right? And when as Jesse Livermore said this, not me, that you can sell a lot more stock on the way down once you've taken a market up, or not manipulated it, but ticked it up the way they have. So for new traders, when these sort of events happen, like the Chinese currency uh, crisis that happened, and then was fixed. When these sorts of events, and I don't want to say black swan, but when these sort of strange events like that happen, sit out of the market and watch the price action. When you don't take on a position in turbulent markets, it does something. It allows you to think clearly because you don't have an agenda in your head. You're not worried that you're long, you're not worried that you're short. You can actually very observantly watch price action. And when you're watching price action, make notes, right? As a trader, you'll have certain levels that you'll have marked off on your charts. When price gets to those levels, how does it react? Does it stop? Does it slam right through? Right? Does it stop and reverse a little bit? Those little nuances in price action will tell you who's in the market, whether they're technical traders or big funds dumping. The way the market trades, like yesterday, it traded down. It kept filling single prints, but the selling was very orderly, right? Jim Dalton always says institutions don't butcher a market, right? Our job is to trade smoothly, right? To get out large amounts of stock into your buying. So always remember, the market's not going to go away. It's going to be there the next day. It's going to be there the day after that. You don't have to trade a market that's down 100 S&P handles. And don't look at it and say, you know what, if I had shorted it here, I could have covered here and I would have been a millionaire today. Don't look at it like that. What you should be doing is you should be looking at it like a scientist observes an experiment, because frankly, you don't have the experience to jump in there and start dodging semis on the freeway, right? Be careful, right? Today was a perfect day for newer traders. Today was a nice technical day. It was mechanical. The market systematically was taking out stops on the way out. I posted where the stops were earlier and said they're going to hit here, here, and here, right? And it did it because inventory got too short, right? The market sold off for a number of days. People, there was some short covering, and as Turney Duff said, there are guys sitting behind their screen going, you know what, if Apple hit this, I got that sticky note. If Apple hits this number, I'm going to load the boat. So those kind of people are starting to work orders in now. The last 3 days, also, you guys have to remember, there's something called a margin call. Okay. You guys don't really deal with it as much as funds and institutions, but a lot of these players they use leverage. And when you use leverage, when the price of the asset that you're using to secure or collateralize that leverage drops, the prime broker calls and says, you got to wire some dough in here, right? So most funds, here's the thing about guys in our industry, we hate wiring money, right? Money comes in, it's not supposed to go out. It's just supposed to come into us. So instead of wiring money or writing a check or journaling funds or whatever they do, they'll elect to sell something that they've got a good profit on. I'll just sell a bunch of this, right? So we have margin calls, and then those margin calls take the market lower, right? And then that trips more margin calls. So it's kind of like it's like a daisy chain effect. It keeps going. The snowball goes until eventually we get to a level where everyone's like, yeah, I don't really want to sell down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've got that Corvette, you want to, and you're advertising it for 25 grand, and somebody offers you 10. No, I don't want to sell it for 10, right? So that's what's going on. There is a mechanics, there's an agenda of what's going on, right? So, I don't think the world is ended. I think, this market is, I'm not going to say if it's going to go up or down, but there is a lot of strength in this US market. There is a lot of money, and let's just say they haven't finished selling all their paper. This was a good, healthy correction. Um, you know, it could go down more. It could zigzag for a while and balance itself out. You know, when you drop markets on their head like this, it's kind of like getting a good punch in a fight. You get knocked down, you get up, and you're seeing stars for a little bit, and you're a little dizzy. That's what it's kind of doing right now. So, but today was a perfect day for newer traders because it was technical. You could trade quite easily in and out because we were in balance. We were in the previous day's range, right? A lot of people got cut up yesterday. I heard a lot of people came to me and said, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfect, because the first step for me in trading towards success is to be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't see it. I'm going to sit and wait, right? You know, uh, it's like somebody handed you a scalpel and said, okay, you're going to do a quintuple bypass surgery, right? Are you going to say, I don't know what I'm doing, or are you going to just jump in there? Right. So think about it that way. There's nothing wrong with saying you don't understand the price action, but I'm going to sit and watch it so I can understand it for the next time this happens.
Right, right, for sure. Nah, great advice, great advice. So JJ, so jumping into today's topic about, starting off on a journey to becoming a profitable trader, which I'm trying to do. I'm trying to transition from poker to trading. And I just want to ask you, and I know we discussed this before a little bit, but I want to go a little bit more in depth. Like, how long did it take for you to become comfortable retail trading? And if you don't mind sharing, like how long did it take, before you were profitable?
It took me a while. It took me a while because I started out with an ego thinking, I'm an ex manipulator. I can do this. And you quickly get, taught a lesson in humility very fast. And then I started going down the rabbit hole. And I think for the first year, I don't trade a lot. Okay. Um, because I have a lot of scars. Right. And in that first year, I didn't, I traded here and there, but I was sporadic. but I spent more of my time watching price and just journaling everything I saw, watching Jim Dalton videos, shadow trader videos, and I couldn't understand it because market profile, when you look at it at a certain from a sort of an academic point of view, is a little harder to understand than when you put it in the context of the market as it trades. So watching the price action, it took me a good solid 2 years before I could chunk all the information together,
Mm,
as Jim Dalton
mm,
says. It does take time. It does take time, and I'm still not where I want to be because this is a journey. This is a marathon, right? And I'm always going to learn something. I'm going to learn something new every day. There's just no way around it. There's no way to get into this game saying I know everything, I've stopped learning, and I'm a pro at it, right? Because the next thing you know, you're out in the woodshed and you're getting a whooping,
mhm,
right? So it's taken me some time. I'm still on that journey. My biggest problem now is psychology, right? After being, especially after like a heart surgery, and you have personal problems in your life and things like that. So that stuff wears on you. And for me, like I was talking to Steven, my biggest problem was not trading and not being successful because I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I deserved to be successful again. I was kind of beating myself up,
mhm.
right? So getting past all of that, and I didn't even realize that, until one day I was doing something, and somebody said something to me, and just something had clicked. I was like, wow, I've been holding myself back because I'm punishing myself for something I thought I did 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, right? And that happens to people, right? So that's why psychology is such a big part of this business because, and it sounds hokey, they go, oh, trading psychology. But the thing is, when you're sitting in a room by yourself and it's just you and a bunch of monitors, it's very hard to, your mind will play tricks on you. And I'll admit this, I'll be the first one to admit it. Uh, if you're not aware of it, because I wasn't aware of it, it really affects your trading. It affects how you live your life. So it's been a good journey, but I think they have all these people with self improvement courses. Maybe you should become a trader because your demons will come out really quick, right? And if you don't deal with them, you're going to be living in a cardboard box. So it's been a fascinating journey. The last 2 years, and it continues every day. It's pretty cool stuff.
To me, it sounds like, because you say it's taken you 2 years, or it took you 2 years to feel comfortable, to be consistent. And to me,
And
to be able
even
to endure that, like, do you enjoy, because I feel like for a lot of people that might turn people like off from it. And
of course, and that's why so few people are successful in
right.
this, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Right. It you here's the big magical, here's the, everybody's looking for the holy grail in trading. The holy grail is you got to be focused and you got to put in the work. If, like, you cannot get around it, right? There is no way to make fast, quick, easy money in this market because that's how we get you, right? Those people who come in thinking this is easy and, I'm just going to sit here and it's just going to spit out $100 bills at me. We're they're the first ones to lose their hands in the cookie jar, right? They'll lose a finger, then they'll stick it back in and lose a hand. And then next time you put your hand in there, we're going to take your whole arm, right? And if not half of your body, right? And so you have to put in the time. Me, the I was helped by two things. One is I have a fascination with the United States stock market, the history of it, the people, how it was built. This machine, you know, I don't think people realize how beautiful an economy and a stock market the United States has. even in these last 3 or 4 days, the price action was stable. They weren't backing away from bids. Backing away is like saying there's a bid for $50 for something, but you go to hit it and they go, "Oh, I'm not really there." Right? That's called backing away from a bid. You could actually hit a bid in this market on the way down. Execution was good. The spreads were nice and tight. There was liquidity. There was beautiful liquidity. Those things just don't happen overnight. They are built by the founders of this market. The JP Morgans of the world and the Harrimans and the people who built it, you know. So I have a huge respect for them, and I have a fascination. I read books, written in the 1870s about stock market operations of Cornelius Vanderbilt, right? So that's one thing, right? I totally geek out that way, and I'll be the first to admit it, right? Um, so I live and breathe the market. I love it. I mean, I spent a year learning the clearing system on the equity side because what we see, for example, in the market, there's the stock market, and then there's the plumbing and the electrical and the structure underneath it that allows everything you see on your screens to operate. And here's the beautiful thing: people don't even know it's there because everything works so seamlessly, right? That is the level of sophistication and brilliance of this machine that the United States people have made. It's wonderful, right? So I could talk about this for hours, right? Because for me, I'm in love with the market and how it works and the functions of it and just the little details that people don't really care about, but they kind of make a difference. So you got to have that. That's why this is not for everybody, right? I have a passion for it. Ever since I learned about the stock market in Liar's Poker, Michael Lewis's first book, I was just blown away, right? So that's my thing. And if you don't have to be as crazy dedicated as I have, but you got to put in the time, and it's going to take time,
Right.
you know.
Right, right. Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say before. Like that's what strikes, talking to you is that like you just have such a love, like a deep love for it. And, having, for whatever pursuit that, someone's trying to pursue, you gotta have that love that's gonna help you through like the tough and the difficult times, so, to keep you going. And then also it seems like you love the challenge of it as well.
I love the challenge of it. I love taking things apart and putting. When I was a kid, I took my first bike apart when I was like 6 years old. It took me a long time to put it back together again. But I always loved how things worked. And I had about three uncles who were engineers, and they all worked for the defense companies in California. And I loved that. I thought I was going to be an engineer, but I wasn't smart enough. So
Well, you found your calling, man. You found your calling. And so JJ, so let's take a quick intermission, and we're gonna bring back a segment that we did a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna put on my clergy outfit, and so now I'm Father Paulie Walnuts here. I need you to confess your sins before the Lord. What market making sins
oh
have you
man,
committed in your past?
oh, this is a bad one. We were a bunch of people were doing a deal. It was one of the very first internet deals that they used email to promote, and back in the late '90s. And this thing was trading liquid. And the deal guy, the guy who owned all the stock, um, he was a stockbroker at one of the bigger Vancouver brokerage firms, but he owned all the stock in this company and, of course, his offshore accounts. And the promotion started going, and I had a client, who was owed about. I think that my client was owed about 200 grand in stock on this deal, and I liked my client and everything, and I didn't really like this broker too much. And the day that it started ripping, this thing was liquid. I mean, it was $5 on the OTC bulletin board back then. It was called the OTCBB, and this thing was liquid. You would have Knight Securities, which is now Citadel Knight Securities. They would call me up and say I could pay the bid at $5, and I'd be like, "For how much?" They were like, "How much do you want to sell?"
Hmm.
Right? So I could sell them a million shares at a
Yeah.
clip. Right? That's how liquid this thing was. And we couldn't find the guy who was the deal guy, the broker. He had disappeared. He had completely disappeared. Nobody could find him. The stock was trading, but it couldn't get above $5, right? And technically, it should have been able to get above $5 because it was a clean shell. And this guy, who we shall call Mulrooney, he had all the paper. So they sent me to look for him in the building, in the stock exchange building, and and I found him, and he was hiding in a janitor's closet, and he had 3 cell phones going, and he was selling stock behind everybody else's back.
Wow.
Yeah, so and that's called backdooring. You know, when you have a deal and you're not, you know, the way these guys do it is they have a gentleman's agreement that they're not going to sell, right? They're going to sell in concert, so they don't depress the price. And you know, we couldn't get the stock over $5. So I find him, and he's got 3 cell phones going in the closet, and I just looked at him, and here's where I sinned. I should have told my clients what he was doing, but I
Oh,
didn't.
JJ.
Oh, okay, I didn't because I knew that they would have had him clipped. So
But like seriously,
no, I mean, it was like $25 million worth of paper, right? I mean, that's, like, he was just sucking up all the
people don't
liquidity.
know.
You
People don't
know,
mess around in Vancouver. Be careful out there.
well, I mean, you think about it. Some guy's going to beat you up for $200 on the street. What are they going to do to you for 25, 30, 40 million
Oh
US
yeah.
dollars? I mean, that's
Oh
real
yeah.
money. So I was like, did you like? They were like, did you find him? And I was like, no, I couldn't find him. Right. So, and I thought, he would, I thought he would cut up the stock, the proceeds later or something like that. But he never did. He took the 25. I think he made like $40 million off that deal, and in like 2 weeks. And
Uh,
he booked it down. It's down to the Cayman Islands, and then he proceeded to like make hundreds of millions by robbing from everyone. So yeah, that is my market maker sin. But I did it because I knew that they would have you wouldn't have been able to identify this guy with dental records if I had
yeah.
snitched on him. So
Well, I could see your rationale behind it. Not so bad. Not so bad. Now, JJ, how common were like people like backdooring each other like in these scummy moves? How common was that, or was it like a
oh
minority?
no, that's every
Wow.
day. Every day. I mean, the way a lot of these guys live, the professionals and there's different types of stock promoter. They're like guys who are actually venture capitalists who will do it and fund the company and actually try and build a business. And then we have what we call ruthless paper hangers. And the ruthless paper hangers, they will literally take down their own family. Like, I knew brothers that would like take each other down for $5 million here
Hmm.
and there. Or the one brother's a promoter and he gets his other brother to warehouse a bunch of stock for him, and then he walks on the debit. That was common. Because a lot of these guys, they come from all sorts of backgrounds, and that's okay. But the way they think is, if there's $5 million on the table, it belongs to the guy who picks
Right.
it up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's savage. It's just a straight dog eat dog. But yeah, I mean, especially with that type of money involved, you know what I mean. I guess it's not that surprising. But
Yeah, I mean that's why I had a lot of business, because when market makers have a buy order, they will call me to show me first bid, right? And I will pay them handsomely for doing so, right? Because I am Larry the liquidator. I have to, because my clients, they only ask 2 questions, right? They ask, how much volume did it trade? How much did I sell? And those are my phone calls at the end of the day. That's it. They don't care what price,
mhm.
right? They just want to know, what percentage of the volume did you get out for me today, right? And if it was any less than 20% of the volume, guess what? I'm fired.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Interesting stuff. No, I always love hearing these stories from you. We don't, I guess like retail traders, we don't hear too much of this stuff. It's always fascinating. So yeah, so getting back on topic, I know you got some questions for myself, about, for me starting out as a trader.
Definitely. Um, you know, First of all, just personal stuff. I know you were born in New York,
Mhm.
But where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I was born in New York. Then I grew up in Northern Virginia, outside of DC.
Oh, cool, cool. And we know you play poker for a
Uh,
living. What age did you start
Yeah,
doing
well,
that?
I mean, I started playing poker for man. I used to I got into it because I used to watch my father play online. Yeah, back in what people like call like the heydays of poker, right? So poker started getting like real popular around like the mid 2000s. And so man, I would say when I was probably like 13, I started playing online. I mean, probably even younger.
Wow,
So that's when I
wow.
started, and then yeah, it was only past 3 or 4 years I've been able to like fully support myself playing poker. And before that I had sales, but I always played as like a semi-professional, you know what I mean? So I was always like a winning player, just to the point to where that I could make that my only job.
Oh, cool, cool. Uh, Now, I think I think someone said that you won a seat at the World Series of Poker for your dad when you were like 13 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. When I was, yeah, I guess that information's out now. Yeah, because that's obviously not legal.
They can't do anything to you
Yeah,
now,
obviously
can
that's
they?
not legal, but yeah, I guess I was 13. I mean, trying to think of what grade. I was probably like maybe my first year of high school, or
Okay.
yeah, so probably around 13, 14. Yeah, no, like I qualified, playing a poker tournament online. And if you win the tournament, you want a seat into the World Series of Poker 10K buy-in, the main event. Um, and so obviously me being
Wow.
underage, I couldn't play in it. So it was my dad's account. And so I won him into it. And then yeah, he wound up cashing the tournament for, I believe it was like 40K. So so
Nice.
yeah, it was a nice
That's
little score
nice.
for the family.
Oh, that's great. Jeez. It's a family that works
Yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah.
That's great. So, whereabouts do you live
I'm in
now?
South Florida, West Palm Beach.
Ah, fancy.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. I dream of
Yeah, yeah.
Florida.
Well, it's nice, but like living here for a while, man. It's funny. It's like it's a lot different from, we'll say, like northeastern United States, or like mid Atlantic. Like I would always enjoy the summer months. Then the winter months are a little uh not as enjoyable. Now here, the summer months, it's like unbearable. It's so hot. You walk outside for 5 minutes, you're sweating. But the winter months are
Oh, it's
perfect. You know what I mean? 70 degrees, nice breeze. So, but yeah, no, I like it for the most part.
I'll swap you anytime up here. I think we'll probably got another
Well,
6 or 7 weeks, and it's
well,
going to
that's what I
start
was wondering.
snowing.
You were saying like when it maybe if you're having a bad day trading, or like you're keeping your gunpowder dry, as you like to put it. You're not trading and you want to go for a walk. How the hell you go for walks in negative 30 degrees outside? I wouldn't want to even step outside.
Yeah, well, that's why God invented Gore-Tex, and insulate. Thank goodness. It's funny because I moved back here after 26 years in Vancouver, and I was dreading it. And but now winter clothing is actually quite warm. It's not like in the 70s and the 80s when everything, your clothes got wet and then it froze. So it's quite different now, but it's still, you know, uh, this last winter we were minus 40 for like 3 months in a row, and it
Yeah,
broke me.
yeah. No, that's man. I haven't seen snow in years. Haven't. Yeah, I don't even remember what it's like.
We don't get that much snow, but it was cold. So now, Ray, tell me, when you were, when you're, learning how to trade, how did you start out?
I mean, I started out probably like most people of my age group, or millennial, however you want to put it. I was trying the penny stocks, like the low float, the penny stocks.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So the
Okay,
exact thing that
so
you that you condemn.
well, I mean, listen, I mean, we got to eat,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
No, you bet off me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we need, yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
need
yeah. Shout
fresh
out to
meat, right?
your
I mean,
your nice fitted suits.
it's yeah, that's tough. And how did you, I mean, obviously you didn't do
No.
great at it. I mean, that's a very, I think in, I think 6 years now of talking to retail traders, I have only met one guy who has successfully traded penny stocks. But the guy drinks about 4 pots of coffee a day, and he executes so fast. The guy is like a human algorithm when he executes really quick. My buddy in Texas,
I mean,
the Bish, that guy. He's the only one who is out of hundreds of people I've spoke to. So that tells you, you know, it's a rigged game, and he understood that it was rigged first, so he kind of was in that frame of mind. Um, so now that we've been hanging out, right? I've been preaching the gospel of
yeah.
market profile. Um, now how you know uh, tell us your thoughts on this.
Well, my thoughts. Hmm. Well, just learning about it. I'm still in the process. Just watching the markets and talking to you. It just seems like like a much more sound approach, if that makes sense. And just talking to you and then talking to others who really vouch for market profile. It's like I guess I got fooled before, and I could say that. You can tell from the people who teach who are real and from the people who aren't. You know what I'm saying? Or kind of like the charlatans, or however you want to put it. And Yeah, yeah, no, I'm just still in the process of learning it, and I'm looking forward to putting it into action here in the next couple months.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I've been working with you a little, and we haven't even really started yet. So I'm looking forward to that. Uh, Now, you're a father. How old is your son? I want to get the people to know a little bit. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. So my son is 5 years old. He's about to start kindergarten in a week, which is crazy. It's like a next milestone in my life. Gotta go to like open house in 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I don't know. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I still feel like I'm like I don't know, man. It's just like I'm a father, man. My kid's going to school. It's crazy. You know what I mean?
That's very cool. That's great. It's nice that you know that you have that. I don't have kids. I was never responsible enough. So that's really cool. That's really cool. And you know what's it like trading and looking after a son too? I mean, that must be
Whoa.
difficult. I mean,
Yeah,
managing
no,
your
no.
time.
I mean, absolutely. And that was, I always, maybe this is an excuse, maybe it's not an excuse. I mean, I believe it's not, but like, I always felt like I would have been a professional poker player a lot sooner in my life. But, I had him when I was like 22 years old. You know what I mean? So I was still a kid myself. And then from that point, like, I didn't even really have much money. You know what I mean? I didn't have much of a bankroll. And so, like, I obviously had to think about him. I couldn't go to, take a chance playing poker with a small bankroll, go bust though. You know what I mean? Then what? So I had
Oh
to,
yeah.
and it's probably, everything. I believe everything happens for a reason, and you know what I mean. Like it got me to like, I mean, really buckle down. You know what I mean. So I had to go get a job, hustle still with poker, and yeah, man, like, I didn't have a lot of like free time. You know what I mean? Didn't have much like free social time, but you got to do what you got to do. Um, but
No, it's good.
yeah, no, definitely managing the time is hard, and then obviously me, and this is why another reason like I haven't fully gotten into trading, and it's tough. And me and you have talked about this like offline. Is like I still got to make money now, right? How do I make money playing poker?
Exactly.
But I
Exactly.
want to just totally dive into market profile. But it's tough, It's just managing my time and just I guess just being patient with it and just building and just building on it.
Yep. The, yeah. The being patient. I mean, one of the questions that somebody asked me is, if you work a full time job, how do you trade? And I might as well cover this now because we're there. But a close friend of mine, she asked that, and it is hard. I mean, I look at it. See, I was in a way I'm lucky because I'm unattached. I live in a place where it's minus 40, and I live in a small town where there's really no, there's a couple 100,000 people. There's no distractions. There's literally nothing to do, and I don't really like snowmobiling. So I had nothing but time, other than looking after my elderly mother. But most people have lives. They have families. They have, they got to take the kids to hockey practice and this and that, and work a full time job and look after a home. So it is a very difficult thing, and I guess you have to kind of take the marathon
Definitely.
approach to it. Um, and it's going to be a while. It's not. Don't. I'm not quitting my day job. To be a full-time trader, because trust me, the market's not going to pay you right
Hmm.
away, right? First it's going to take you out and beat you up a little bit and welcome you to the schoolyard, right? So while you're doing that, don't quit your day job. Schedule time to read. You have to have that discipline, and it's all I guess a matter of how
Yeah,
bad you
exactly.
want it.
Exactly.
you know that's why I like the futures, because it's a 24-hour, 23-hour market, right? So, you can schedule an hour a day even just to watch the price action in the Globex.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Nailed it right on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what else? Any other
And
questions?
oh, yeah, I got one. Yeah, I got another one. What are your goals in trading and your goals in life?
Yeah. I mean, my goals in trading, I mean, I want to transition out of poker. I want to, I need a new career. Really. You know what I mean? Poker, for people out there that are not familiar with poker, for a while, it kind of sucks that my age, I wasn't like a little bit older during the poker boom days because people just cleaned up. Like people had no idea how to play poker. It was getting advertised all over TV in America. Online poker was actually legal in America. It could play with the rest of the world, and people were just printing money, millions. JJ, you know what I mean? And but progressively,
Wow.
poker, and through a lot of different reasons, but online poker in America is illegal now. It got a lot of different markets around the world are segregated. They can't play. You can't play in a global market. There's no more sponsorship money, and so poker's just been on a downward trajectory. I mean, for a while now. You know what I mean? Probably 10 years. And so I kind of got into it not at an ideal time. Not that you still can't make money, but it's like I don't. Now AIs are starting to be the best players in the world, heads up, and multiplayer settings, and so this has been a discussion within the poker community for a while. Is that poker is just not at a great state, and that money's just leaving the ecosystem more and more. Um, and so yeah, I need a new career. And when I was researching, it was like, oh, people who are poker players would be make good traders. There's very good similar skill sets. And looking at trading, um, the industry seems there's a lot more money in the industry than poker, way more. And it still seems like there's good money to be made. And in other words, it's just it seems like there's higher upside in trading than in poker. And,
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the industry, the market is the engine that drives everything. So you have a massive U.S. economy, and the market, is drilling away back there. So there, when you have companies like BlackRock with, was it $7 to $8 trillion under management?
yeah,
there's some
oh yeah,
heavy coin
no, no,
there.
absolutely, absolutely.
you know.
So yeah, yeah. I just want to be able to transition careers, and then I guess like life goals. I don't know. I guess that's part of it. Just continue to be the best father I can be, I guess. And yeah, hopefully get this podcast out to the masses.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
good. That's good. That's
yeah.
good.
So
That's good.
what else, or is that it?
Let me see here. Okay, for the people who are listening, who are poker players, because I have no clue what the heck you guys do with
Hmm.
those cards all day. Uh, the mental aspect of
Yeah.
poker and trading. Now you're just starting into the trading industry, but you've had the
Yeah.
experience of losing money. Um, so do you feel like you have a kind of an advantage on the mental aspect over other new
Oh yeah,
traders,
absolutely.
or?
Oh, 100%. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but like I believe, and I have very limited knowledge of trading, and I've never professed otherwise. But based on talking to people who are traders, and then my little experience trading, and then obviously my many years in, millions of hands of playing poker. I think poker is way more like volatile. Like your swings are going to be a lot more in poker. And I could be wrong. Maybe if you're a bad trader, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But like, I feel like, I've already had this experience of like losing a lot of money, you know what I mean? For long stretches of time. Like,
Oh,
it's almost like, like
ooh,
I'm numb to this point. Like losing money doesn't even matter to me. It's like, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, just,
that's actually not going to help you in trading. Okay, because we need to get your pain reflexes going again, because we don't want you taking a lot of heat.
well, no,
Um, I always say, no. But here's the thing. No, here's the thing. If you're okay with losing money, that
but I,
doesn't help you in trading. What helps you what helps you in trading is good trade location, right? Because the thing in trading is, if you start losing money, and because I've seen guys who are okay with risk, and they take big risk, and they can be down really heavy. But here's the thing about the market. There are things called, like we saw in the last 3 days, a stray order. A stray order can come, like, say, if you're down like 2 grand or something like that, and you don't have a stop, but you're like, I can take this heat. It's only 2 grand, and a stray order comes and knocks the market down, and you've lost like 6 grand out of a $10,000 account, right? And that can happen very, very quickly. So I just want people to know out there that uh, Ray is used to taking risk, but let's hope it's
well, no, exactly.
calculated
That's what I was gonna
risk.
say. Like, I don't just lose money for, for the sake of losing money, JJ. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
because no, because there's people like, okay, like, so maybe to put this in better words, and you could very well be right. You know what I mean? Maybe this could be a negative aspect for me, and I'll default to you always when it comes to trading. It's just like, early on in my poker career, like, and I think I've mentioned this before to you, is like I think I have more of a conservative approach, like on the spectrum,
Oh, that's
but like I would think I was almost too conservative at a time, because like, I would start like losing a little bit of money in a session, but the game was really good. Like there's a lot of like donkeys at the table, a lot of fish, a lot of money get thrown around. But like I started losing a little money, and I'm like, oh no, I got to protect my money. When in reality, the game was really good. I needed to like up my tolerance a little bit, because the game was so good that, you don't often find games like that. I don't know if that's making sense.
it makes sense from a poker perspective. For me, from a trading perspective, you should do the opposite. Once you start losing a little bit of money, it's the market telling you don't know what the
Hmm.
hell you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a new trader, right? And that's when you should rein it in and stop, right? Because here's the thing: when you're a new trader, you don't know if the game is good or not, right? You don't know. You don't know enough about the
That makes
subject
sense.
matter at hand to let the fishing line out on risk, right? Because if you're putting in, like, say you take 3 or 4 trades, right, and every one of those trades you're losing money on, and maybe it's small dollar amounts, right? Obviously, you're not seeing something, right? It's not like in a poker game where you're like, the game is good, and I'm just kind of letting it warm up, right? Um, that is when trading. If you start taking losses consistently and you are new, I'm not saying, like, older traders, they can take a few losses because they're sending probes out into the market because they're testing to see how price reacts or something like that. That's
Mhm.
that's completely different. But if you're a new trader and you take 2 or 3 losses in a row, just stop. Like, do me a favor and just stop for a little bit, right? And don't think, oh, I can keep going and outpace myself, because you don't know enough about what's being going on in front of you. Like, you're literally playing with fire, right? So stop. That is like that's why I've never blown up an account. I've taken hits. Trust me, I've taken hits. But when I'm in there and I do a few trades, and they're not going the right way, or the prices, see, I will have a thesis. If it gets to this level, the price should, like today. Today was a perfect example, right? A very technical day when we got to halfback on the profile, price stopped to the tick and reversed. That tells me technical traders are in there and it's okay to go long, right? And my stop is literally 3 or 4 ticks, right? Now, if I get blown through those 3 or 4 ticks, it tells me there's order flow that's present that I'm not seeing, right? So stop, right? Take a look, reassess, right? So yeah, I understand. Now I'm kind of understanding the poker thing a little bit more, and it is a little
You
different.
know, no,
It
you
is a
know,
little different.
the point that you bring up is like now you got me like totally thinking like maybe that is actually what I perceived as being a strength because I have like experience with risking money. Yeah, this might actually be a
Yeah,
weakness. You know, because like what I've always thought was like different with poker. It's like like I can be playing like really good JJ, right? Like so I'll give you the example from what I was at last time. Like I'm at a really good table, I'm playing well and I got all my money in, right? I get all my money in against another guy, got all his money in, and I'm 90% favorite. That's the right play. That's the right play to make.
yeah,
But I'm still gonna lose 1 out of 10 times.
yeah.
And then that happens. You know what I'm saying?
See, see, the other thing too, I'm kind of thinking about this. I'm not a card player, so the poker game, like say you're sitting at a table with 4 guys playing poker, right? And you're the best one at the table. In mid hand, a new player is not going to come in and make a bet
No,
and
no,
crush you,
right.
is
If you yeah. Mhm.
right? That's the market. That's the market because the market is worldwide. There's new players coming in every day, right? As Mark Davis, you know, may he rest, said, any one trader in the world can completely screw up your thesis by selling a large amount of stock or
Mhm.
buying a large amount of stock or with a large order. See, because it's not a closed system, right? It's open. Anyone can
Right.
jump in, right? So you could have a great hand and somebody could just walk up to the table and go, look, I got a
Yeah.
better hand,
Yeah.
right? That's the problem. I'm kind of seeing the poker market comparison now as I'm kind of learning a little bit more from you. It's anytime, yeah, you should. And the most liberating thing I have found, and I'll keep saying this over and over again, and people might call me an idiot, but the most liberating thing that's helped me learn in trading is admitting I
Hmm.
don't know what the hell
Yeah.
is going on. Right? As soon as I go, I have no clue what the F is going on, excuse my language, I get clarity, right? Because I've let go of the need to try and control the
Mhm.
situation, right? Because there are very, very, very well capitalized, very powerful people behind the order flow of these orders that are coming into these markets, right? They are not to be fooled with, right? So, and we as retail traders, we are literally taking a Swiss Army knife into a machine gun battle with cruise missiles and ordnance and bunker busting bombs, and it's like me taking on the entire U.S. military with a
Hey,
Swiss
that's
Army
nothing.
knife
That's
and a
nothing for the
camel,
gorilla. Come on.
right? Right? No, I'm serious, man. So, you've got that kind of firepower out there. There are guys with hundreds of millions, billions of dollars using 100 to 1
Yeah.
leverage, right? So, and they have the tools that you don't even know exist, right? So that's what I'm looking at the comparisons between trading and poker, and but the biggest thing I can see right now is that poker is a closed system, right? Like once you guys are in a game, nobody new can come into the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. True. True. But like,
In mid
right.
hand,
But
they
you
can,
have changing
right?
variables with like the as different cards come out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, no, no. I know that. I understand that, but you see, the thing about the market is, we could get to a certain level, and somebody, has, say you're trading Apple or any stock, it comes to a level, and some guy goes, oh, you know what? I got my position here. I'm going to start coming out of
mhm.
my position at this level, right? And you don't know that, right? So that's why your risk management will save you, right? You will have, a certain, that's why use stops, and try and take trades that have a higher odds, right? So I imagine
Yeah.
about odds, right? And so that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
no,
really
and
curious
I
about
think,
that.
and we can move on in a second. I think now, maybe let me ask you about this. Like, another strength I thought that my poker experience might bring is the ability to like bounce back from like a loss, like let's say like a losing trade. You know what I mean? Because
That's
I at least I have,
that's a good
I've
thing.
lost so many times, but I still got to come back the next day and make money. You know what I mean? And I think I would at least like to
Yeah.
think I've developed that skill to
Oh
bounce
yeah.
back without losing confidence.
That's a good thing. The, but the one proviso, and I say this all the time, and I sound like a broken record. And my brother Odds, who did that interview with Beyond the Trades, he says that too. Is when you start about trading, don't think of it as a way to make money. Learn how to trade
Right.
well, right? If you learn how to trade well, the money will come, right? But if you're focused on saying, I need to make X amount of dollars every day because I quit my job and I need to pay the rent, we are going to eat you for
Yeah, I mean,
lunch.
yeah, no, no, for sure. And like
Right?
that's, it's easier said than done because like I feel like we're so, as humans, we're so like
It
results
is.
oriented.
It
You know what
is.
I mean?
It is. It is. It is. That's why retail trading is the hardest thing I've ever done, you know, because there's so many things like that that you're not aware of, right? Because you think, okay, I can go and make $1,000 here or five, and you just, but you're not thinking about trading well. And when you're focused on the money, you're not really observing the price action. The biggest thing where I turned a corner and I could see is when I didn't think about putting on a trade, I didn't think about the money. Like this morning, the market opened, and in the first minute, guys are like, "I'm long, I'm short." Da, da, da. I'm like, "Listen, man, they haven't even started baking the cake yet. They haven't even put it in the
Hmm.
oven." You know, let let the market open. Let the references develop. See who's in the game,
Hmm.
who's playing, right? Because a lot of the times we spend a lot of time figuring out who's at the table if you're a poker player, right? Because that, we have to figure out who's sitting at the table, who we're trading against, what
Right. Right.
participants are in the market that day, right? See, when you start playing poker, I mean, online, obviously, it's a different game because you don't know who you're playing against. But that's the thing. First, that's why I'll let the market open. I'll watch it, and market profile, the TPO charts, they will tell me.
Mhm.
Those charts will tell me who is in the market today. Because we dropped the market on its head and it's a little dizzy. They just let it trade by itself and did some short covering, right? And the internals that Peter Resnicek talks about really back that up. It showed that the market, I call it Christmas tree breath, Nasdaq negative, positive, New York negative, and so it was back and forth and back and forth, and it was a beautiful interplay between wholesale and retail, right? You know, uh, you open up a market, you take it down, the sellers run out, and as soon as you can see that the sellers are running out, the shorts start creeping up their bids to cover. Once the shorts start creeping up their bids, smart retail and smart momentum guys, they recognize that, jump in, then the market starts moving higher, then the retail, the slow people, who see it last, jump in and push and chase it up. And then and then they get stuck, and then the market comes off and then the wholesalers buy it back down lower, right? And then run it once the selling is done. And you can see that because the market will trade to very, very specific references to the tick, right? When a market goes to half back or to the open, to the tick, stops and reverses, it's technical trading, right? So
Hmm.
you know who's sitting at the table, right? And market profile will tell you that. So, but to be able to actually sit and listen, right? And actually be able to interpret that price action, you can't be
Right.
thinking, I got to
Right. No,
take a trade,
exactly.
right? Because it clouds you. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I, I'm just talking from experience because I used to do that. I got to force
Hmm.
it here. I got to make some money, right?
Right.
Boom. Next thing you're down, right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Because you're clouded, right? You're thinking about, you're thinking about paying your phone bill when you should be thinking about where is price stopping? How is it behaving
Exactly.
around
It's
these
having
references?
that presence that Stephen Goldstein talks about and is so big on it. But I mean, he's totally right. Just being immersed in the moment, present in the
Oh
moment,
yeah,
and yeah, and it's funny you
exactly.
even said it because this is how I equate like the market profile and the way you describe it and what I've been learning is like how you said like in poker, like and even for online poker, like which I play, JJ, I can even even though like it's not face to face, I can tell by somebody how he bets, his bet sizing, how he,
Oh, okay,
just the style of play he has. If, I'll get it, I won't know for sure, but I'll get a general idea if this guy's a pro, if this guy's maybe, he's okay
okay,
player, or this guy's just a total fish. You know what I mean? And then yeah,
okay,
well, then
okay.
obviously, then you have
That's good.
multiple players at the table, right? And then you got to understand how that changes the dynamic because no one table is going to play the same way, right? Because you might have a table of all pros. That's going to play way different than a table with just me and then, two average players and three fish. You know what I mean? And so you got to understand how,
Got
like,
it.
it's like
Got it.
almost like the metagame, they call it. You know what I mean? How the dynamics change, the game, if that makes sense.
Mhm. No, that's a really good thing because that analogy
Right.
is what I just talked about. Like who's in the market? I always say who's who in the zoo, right? Who's in the zoo this morning? Um, so that's really cool. So that's another poker reference that you can use in trading. Is you're figuring out
Right.
what the other
Which is
people are
huge.
doing.
Which is huge. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, no,
definitely.
good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, anything else, or should we jump into the listener questions?
Oh yeah, we better take the questions before we
Yeah,
drone
yeah.
on
No,
too
no, no.
long,
I
right?
think hopefully people will like this. I think it's been good so far. Um, all right, so on to the listener questions. And shout out to everyone who's submitted listener questions. Me and JJ highly encourage it, no matter the type of question, serious, funny, whatever it is. We want to have fun with these. And so, first question is from at Capture Theta 135. On a massive down day like today, are the market makers just waiting for the tap on the shoulders, giving them the green light to ramp it back up? And I'm pretty sure it was referring to not today, but the day before, what, 8/5, right? August 5th?
Well, oh, yeah, or any day actually. Uh, yeah, no, well, the tap on the shoulder is when the selling volume dries up. You got to remember, market makers are there to provide liquidity. They take the other side of your trades, so they are the buyers when nobody's buying, and they're the sellers when nobody's selling. So they are putting themselves at risk to give you the liquidity to trade this market. You think about it like that. So yes, the tap on the shoulder is when a market starts selling off, they'll take some in, then they'll have to take some in lower. Taking it in means buying, right? So they'll, it's $50, okay, there's people selling at 50, I got to buy it. Then, I got to buy some at 40, then I got to buy some, and it keeps going down. So I'm averaging down and averaging down, which is not how you should trade, right? But as a market maker, you're averaging down as you're taking in
Mm-hmm.
retail sellers, right? Because that's your job. You are there to take the other side of the trade. So the tap on the shoulder is when that retail selling dries up, right? And when that dries up, then what you do is you give it a little bit of you goose it a little bit and you start moving the bids up. If there's nobody hitting your bids, you start moving the market higher and higher. And then once the intelligent momentum players see that the market's starting to creep up and that the selling's drying up, they'll jump in and they help you. The other thing too is the shorts. Once the shorts are trapped and they're not getting filled in at lower prices, they will start creeping their bids up because they have to cover those short positions, right? So you have two sets of buyers then. They will help you take the price up and you can fan it out to them. And then once they start doing their magic and moving price up, then guess what? The retail sheep, they come in. They're the last ones, right? And they'll push it up to the higher stages of that auction where you can sell out and get out of your long position. Then once those people are trapped and then there's no more buying like we saw today, they're going to come out. So once they start coming out, you can start buying it back from them again cheaper, right? So that's the interplay between wholesale and retail. And days like today were a perfect
All
day.
right. Yeah. Shout out to Capture Theta 135. Thanks for the question. All right. Next question is from at Stocks and Crypto. You both interact together smoothly. How much preparation, like research before and after the show, do you do? Do you want to go first? Then I'll go.
I'll
I
let you go
mean,
first. No, go ahead.
man, me and JJ are just naturals, man. We just come in straight off the dome and like we just go. Like that's how it goes, now, we do a little bit, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like as far as like structural wise, but I would like to think a lot of it is just, me and you just flowing back and forth.
There's a lot of that, and what I do is, throughout the week, I'll take notes about something that that seems relevant. Hopefully, it is relevant. And then in the trading room that I'm in, people will say something, or people off Twitter, they'll ask a question, and maybe I should explain that. So I do my whole life is basically one research project. It's been like that. I was one of the first guys at the firm to read SEC filings back in the early '90s. So I'm always doing research. I'm
Yeah,
always
you're the man,
pulling things
JJ.
apart.
And shout out to Stocks and Crypto for the question. Appreciate it. All right, next question comes from at Trading After Hours. You both refer to playing in traffic when trading often. What exactly does that mean?
Um, when when trading often, and trade playing in traffic, once again, market profile. When a market opens, if it's choppy, if it's up and down and up and down and up and down in a range, what they're doing is they're picking your pocket. There's counterbalancing order flow coming from the sell side and the buy side, and it's just playing off each other. So what I say about, and once you recognize that, you realize you don't want to trade that unless you're a very fast scalper, right? But if you're not a scalper, that's when you sit and wait. And that's what I tell when I'll tweet out something. It's like, don't play in traffic. It's choppy. There's a lot of semis going back and forth down the freeway, and you're out there, playing tiddlywinks. You're
Tiddlywinks.
gonna get smoked, right? And then they'll be like, "Oh, I got stopped out." It's like, yeah, no kidding, you got stopped out. It's a choppy market. You don't know what you're doing, right? Just sit out and wait, right? Uh, Patience is the hardest thing, and I'm not saying that this didn't happen to me either. Be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm feed market makers order flow for 20 years. I can trade this chop. Well, guess what? I didn't, right? I'm not saying this that I'm better than anybody else. It's just that when you see price going back and forth in a small range, 3 ticks, 5 ticks, that kind of thing, just just wait, because the market is waiting for more information, right? It's telling you, don't jump in here right now, right? So just sit and wait. And yeah, playing in traffic is really never good. The
Yep.
results
As you
never
always
seem to
say,
be
keep
good.
your gunpowder dry. I don't know why. I don't know why I love that phrase so much.
Ex- I don't know. It's just from it's just like, yeah, or save your bullets is another one. Like if you're going to be in a gunfight, um, you know, don't don't shoot the gun up in the air. Save
Mm-hmm.
those bullets because you're going to
Amen.
need them.
Amen. All right. Shout out to Trading After Hours. I appreciate the question. All right. Last question comes from at M Trading Media D. When are you guys going to ask me to get you sponsor for the podcast? Trading company listening would be crazy not to lock up you guys now for a sponsorship deal. Your podcast is educational, entertaining. Thanks. Well, yeah, thanks for the compliments. Obviously, we very much appreciate that. Hey, if you want to go out and get us a sponsorship deal, anybody listening, me and JJ like money. Yeah, let's do it.
We would be happy to entertain something like that. And thank you very much. And I apologize for the. I just want to say what I just said about the gunfight thing was insensitive, considering what's just happened, and I want to apologize about that. That's I
Yeah,
My
yeah,
prayers are with
absolutely.
the people.
And I don't. Hopefully, no one took it that way. I know I didn't. My mind didn't even go there. No, no, absolutely. No, no.
I just
That's
want to say,
respectful. Yeah, and obviously, yeah, thoughts and prayers out to everyone affected by the recent events. Yeah. So, I mean, that's going to wrap up today's podcast. JJ, any parting thoughts?
no parting pots. I just want to, give a shout out to my superstar who inspires me a lot with education, and she teaches me what retail traders are wanting and what they're looking for, and I
Yo,
really
shout out to the
appreciate it. Thank you,
superstar,
superstar.
JJ. Another good podcast. Thanks for joining me. Um, yeah, look forward to next week. All right,
Same here. It
listeners.
was
Thanks
great.
everyone
Thanks,
for
Ray.
listening. For me and JJ, that's a wrap. Keep your gunpowder dry. All righty.
Have a good night.